Everyone inherently knows that a black hole ruthlessly swallows absolutely everything crossing its terrifying path. We historically picture these cosmic monsters as the ultimate destroyers of wandering stars and completely helpless planets. However, modern quantum mechanics stubbornly dictates that the universe never permits any information to permanently vanish. So, if the fundamental laws of nature strictly forbid deletion, where does the swallowed material actually go? That is the terrifying cosmic paradox we must confront right now. Dr. Sarah stands quietly on a suffocatingly crowded New York City subway platform during rush hour. The brilliant astrophysicist stares deeply into the absolute darkness of the echoing underground transit tunnel. Stifling summer heat presses heavily against her tired shoulders as she intensely watches the impenetrable void ahead. To her highly trained analytical mind, that pitch-black subway tunnel perfectly mirrors a genuinely terrifying cosmic structure. It visually represents the dreaded event horizon of a monstrously massive galactic black hole. Once a speeding train plunges completely into that oppressive darkness, it disappears entirely from our visible reality. You cannot see the heavy metal carriages, and you definitely cannot hear the grinding steel wheels anymore. We naturally assume the commuter train is entirely gone, because our limited human senses cannot track its continuous movement. But here is where it gets incredibly interesting for our modern understanding of the mysterious universe. The heavy train obviously still exists somewhere deep inside that vast underground metropolitan transportation network. It did not simply pop completely out of existence just because it crossed the platform's dark threshold. General relativity beautifully explains the immense gravitational pull. But quantum mechanics rigidly demands that the train's fundamental data survives. The exhausted passengers, the stained steel seats, and the glowing fluorescent lights must definitively remain intact somewhere within the architecture. This profound contradiction between two highly respected scientific frameworks creates an absolute conceptual nightmare for brilliant modern physicists. If a cosmic void consumes physical matter, but cannot logically delete the underlying quantum information, a fundamental clash inevitably occurs. This specific mathematical and philosophical nightmare officially became universally known as the terrifying black hole information paradox. So, what exactly happens to all the complex physical stuff that unfortunately fell directly into the eternal cosmic darkness? The fog rolled heavily over San Francisco, swallowing the glowing skyline in a thick, suffocating blanket. Inside a cramped apartment in the Mission District, David sat entirely motionless. He was 28 years old. It was 2 in the morning, and the harsh blue light of dual monitors painted his exhausted face in ghostly hues. David was a senior software engineer at a promising tech startup, living the ultimate Silicon Valley dream that thousands relentlessly chased. Yet, as he stared blankly at endless rows of complex code, he felt absolutely nothing resembling success or fulfillment. Instead, he felt a terrifying invisible gravitational pull dragging him downward. Where did all his youthful energy go? Every single morning started with a desperate gulp of overpriced cold brew, followed by back-to-back sprint planning meetings that systematically drained his soul. The pressure was immense. He was being pulled apart. Modern hustle culture operates exactly like the terrifying event horizon of a supermassive black hole. Once you cross that invisible boundary, the intense gravitational pull of societal expectations simply overrides your free will. David had crossed his own personal event horizon years ago when he signed the lease on a $3,000 studio apartment and took on massive student loans. He thought he was building a perfectly stable trajectory for his future career. But here is where it gets interesting. The mathematics of his reality began to violently distort, bending under the extreme mass of relentless capitalism and unyielding tech deadlines. Every paycheck he earned was immediately annihilated by soaring living costs, while his company demanded infinite productivity in a strictly finite universe. He was running furiously on a digital treadmill that was slowly sinking into the dark abyss. There was no escape. In theoretical physics, the singularity is a point of infinite density where the standard laws of space-time completely break down. All matter that falls into the cosmic void is violently crushed into an infinitesimally small dot, obliterating any recognizable structure it once possessed. David was currently experiencing the devastating psychological equivalent of a gravitational singularity. The beautiful, chaotic complexity of his human experience was being violently compressed into Jira tickets, performance metrics, and endless Slack notifications. The vibrant young man who once loved playing acoustic guitar and hiking through pristine national parks simply no longer existed. His entire identity had collapsed under the astronomical pressure of venture capital targets, and the desperate need to simply survive another fiscal quarter. How much more weight could one human mind possibly handle? He felt his physical energy stretching and snapping like a dying star undergoing spaghettification. It was a dead end. From the outside perspective of his proud working-class family back in Ohio, David appeared to be perfectly stationary, frozen securely in a state of high-income prestige. This is precisely what an external observer sees when watching an object fall into a gravitational void. They just see the image frozen at the shadowy edge forever. But from his internal frame of reference, David was falling at a terrifying, catastrophic speed toward absolute nothingness. He was utterly exhausted, suffering from severe clinical burnout, yet completely unable to stop his tragic descent. Every attempt to slow down was immediately punished by the brutal physics of the modern tech industry, where taking a single breath means falling desperately behind your peers. Is this what the absolute peak of human civilization is supposed to look like? The crushing realization hit him like a physical blow to the chest. He was trapped. He closed his burning eyes and leaned back in his ergonomic chair, listening closely to the quiet hum of his computer's cooling fans. The sheer density of his exhaustion felt like an inescapable physical law of nature, an absolute certainty that offered zero hope of salvation. When you reach the absolute center of a collapsing star, standard physics dictates that everything ends in complete and utter darkness. But what if our fundamental understanding of this cosmic graveyard is entirely flawed? Now listen carefully, because this is where the standard model of our reality begins to violently fracture. If the universe truly forbids the complete destruction of fundamental information, then the energy David was losing every single day had to be going somewhere. The intense pressure crushing his spirit could not simply vanish into the cosmic void without a single trace. Something else had to be happening in the dark. We spent decades building this impenetrable fortress in our minds. We pictured black holes as cosmic dead ends where light, time, and matter are permanently extinguished. We assumed they were the ultimate cosmic trash cans of a cold universe. But here is where it gets interesting. In the mid-1970s, Stephen Hawking mathematically proved that our flawless prison actually has a microscopic leak. He completely inverted our understanding of these massive gravitational monsters. Black holes are not entirely black, they glow. They slowly, almost imperceptibly, leak thermal radiation into the freezing vacuum of space. It is a slow, relentless bleed of subatomic particles happening constantly. This strange phenomenon is known today as Hawking radiation. Now listen carefully. This single theoretical discovery did not just add a neat little footnote to astrophysics. It actively threatened to destroy the entire foundation of modern science. Why is a leaking black hole so dangerous to our understanding of reality? Because if black holes leak energy and eventually evaporate into absolute nothingness, we face a terrifying conceptual crisis. Think about a brand new iPhone sitting on your desk. Imagine dropping that expensive glass device into an industrial blender and pressing the maximum speed button. What happens? You completely obliterate the fragile screen, the complex microchips, and every single photo you ever took. But fundamentally, every atom of physical material remains trapped right there inside the glass jar. The universe still possesses the basic building blocks. Quantum mechanics firmly dictates that if you had a powerful enough supercomputer, you could theoretically reverse the blender's motion and perfectly reconstruct that exact phone. But a black hole is clearly not an ordinary household blender. When your iPhone falls infinitely past the dark event horizon, it gets violently crushed into the singularity. Then, the black hole slowly evaporates away as completely random, featureless thermal radiation over trillions of years. What happened next will surprise you. The Hawking radiation carrying away the disappearing mass contains absolutely zero information about your destroyed phone. The universe has effectively hit a permanent, irreversible delete button on the fabric of reality. The unique quantum information is permanently gone. Quantum mechanics absolutely forbids this exact apocalyptic scenario. The fundamental laws dictate that information can never be truly destroyed. So, we suddenly have an immovable object violently crashing into an unstoppable force. General relativity says the data is gone forever. Quantum mechanics screams that it must somehow be preserved. It is a paradox. This nightmare scenario is famously called the black hole information paradox. It represents a fundamental, irreconcilable clash of principle between our two absolute best theories of nature. Theoretical physicists cannot simply shrug and accept that the universe is fundamentally broken. They desperately need a way out of this trap. They need to find a hidden cosmic doorway where all that apparently lost information actually goes. If the detailed information does not remain trapped inside the slowly dying black hole, and it does not miraculously come out disguised in the random Hawking radiation, where on Earth does it secretly hide? The broken mathematics demanded an almost impossible, seemingly magical solution. The universe absolutely had to provide a backdoor escape hatch to successfully balance the ultimate cosmic equation of reality. What exactly is that mysterious escape hatch called? Imagine floating helplessly in the silent void of space, while an invisible cosmic undertow pulls your fragile suit downward. You are a solitary American astronaut plummeting toward the absolute edge of a colossal black hole. The shimmering starlight of our familiar galaxy begins to warp and smear into a terrifying halo behind you. Gravity ceases to be a mere physical force and becomes a violent physical presence tearing at your reality. You cross the dreaded event horizon where not even the fastest photon can ever hope to escape. Silence deafens you. The abyss swallows your screams. You are entirely alone in the ultimate cosmic graveyard. Now listen carefully to what happens to your physical body as you plunge deeper into this inescapable gravity well. The immense gravitational gradient begins to stretch your feet infinitely faster than it pulls your head. Physicists morbidly refer to this agonizing elongation process as spaghettification, a rather playful term for a truly horrifying demise. Your molecular structure is violently drawn out into an impossibly thin ribbon of pure atomic material. Every memory of your life fades as the crushing weight of dead stars compresses your existence. Total absolute darkness envelops whatever is left of your shattered consciousness. You are sinking into the eternal oblivion of the singularity. Is this the definitive end of your cosmic journey? Here is where it gets interesting, because the universe rarely allows the story to end in sheer nothingness. Just as the crushing singularity threatens to erase your information forever, the fabric of space-time reaches its absolute breaking point. The intense quantum compression hits a definitive rock bottom that defies all classical physics expectations. Suddenly, a violent and fundamental repulsion awakens within the deepest microscopic layers of quantum gravity. The implosion violently reverses itself in an explosive phenomenon known as the quantum bounce. A blinding wave of pure radiant energy completely obliterates the suffocating darkness in a fraction of a millisecond. You are violently ejected outward into a breathtakingly brilliant expanse of unfamiliar stars. What happened next will surprise you and entirely shatter everything you thought you knew about cosmic mortality. You are no longer being crushed by the unbearable weight of a dying star's gravitational collapse. Instead, you are surfing the crest of an unimaginable cosmic tsunami made of pure white light and raw matter. The darkness has completely inverted itself into a majestic eruption of blinding brilliance that outshines entire galaxies. You have just been violently expelled from the mouth of a cosmic anomaly that most scientists thought was purely theoretical. How did a prison of infinite gravity suddenly transform into a fountain of creation? You have just survived the impossible transition through the looking glass. Welcome to the majestic and profoundly disorienting reality of a theoretical white hole. In the elegant mathematics of general relativity, a white hole is the exact time-reversed geometric opposite of a black hole. If a black hole is an inescapable cosmic vacuum cleaner, its counterpart is an impenetrable cosmic fountain. Nothing can ever cross its event horizon from the outside, no matter how hard it tries. It is a region of space-time that strictly forbids entry while aggressively vomiting matter and light into the surrounding universe. Could this be the ultimate cosmic recycling center that balances the books of reality? The equations allow it, yet our telescopes have never definitively captured one in the wild. But the real secret is hidden deep within the beautiful symmetry of those complex mathematical equations that govern reality. General relativity does not care about the arrow of time the way our human minds stubbornly do. The math clearly dictates that if a portal can endlessly swallow matter, a reversed portal must theoretically exist to expel it. Imagine trying to force your way back inside an exploding firework while it is violently detonating in the sky. That is exactly what attempting to enter a white hole would feel like for any adventurous space explorer. It represents the ultimate closed door of the universe, locked from the inside and fiercely guarded by an endless explosion. Why does the universe need to create such an aggressive one-way exit door? This staggering concept fundamentally rewrites our understanding of cosmic death and rebirth in the grand theater of space. The very material that was mercilessly shredded into spaghetti is now being triumphantly woven back into the tapestry of existence. It is as if the universe is playing a massive game of cosmic hide-and-seek with its own building blocks. The terrifying black hole was merely the entrance wound, while this glorious fountain of light serves as the magnificent exit. You survive the unyielding crush of gravity only to witness the most spectacular birth of matter imaginable. Is this how dying stars secretly plant the seeds for entirely new universes in the dark? We are left staring blindly at the math, wondering where this impossible subway train of light actually leads. Think of a traditional black hole as the ultimate inescapable cosmic vacuum cleaner aggressively swallowing nearby galaxies. It relentlessly pulls every single piece of wandering matter into a crushing, inescapable point of absolute infinite density. It consumes everything and gives absolutely nothing back to the starving, rapidly expanding universe surrounding its dark borders. Now aggressively flip that terrifying mathematical equation completely upside down. A white hole operates exactly like a blindingly brilliant, uncontrollably magnificent cosmic fountain of pure energetic creation. It violently spews radiant matter and intense light outward into the freezing, empty expanses of the surrounding universe. You absolutely cannot force your way inside this bizarre celestial object, no matter how hard you aggressively try. It is an impenetrable fortress. The geometry strictly forbids entry. Here is where it gets incredibly interesting for our fundamental understanding of reality. General relativity explicitly dictates that extreme gravity around a black hole forces local time to violently slow down. If you stupidly hovered near a dark event horizon, your ticking wristwatch would practically freeze compared to Earth. You could theoretically watch entire human civilizations slowly rise and dramatically fall while you merely blink your eyes. But a white hole fundamentally demands the exact mind-bending opposite of this well-known gravitational time dilation effect. It essentially acts as a bizarre quantum time machine rapidly rewinding the fundamental fabric of local spacetime. It aggressively reverses the flow. Time mathematically runs completely backward. We're completely sure this temporal reversal is even mathematically possible in our observable universe. The theoretical physics equations confidently scream yes. Scientists strongly theorize that this profound quantum bounce generates an unimaginably massive release of highly energetic glowing particles. Remember how Stephen Hawking brilliantly proved that black holes slowly leak a very faint freezing thermal radiation? A white hole does not quietly leak invisible energy over several endless, agonizingly slow trillions of silent years. It spectacularly detonates. It violently ejects incredibly hot, brilliantly glowing photons in a spectacular, blinding flash of pure quantum defiance. This aggressive explosion of chaotic heat violently rejects the absolute zero coldness we typically associate with deep space. The incredibly dense singularity literally turns itself inside out, transforming a gravitational prison into an overwhelming radiant beacon. Does this majestic cosmic eruption perfectly balance the terrifying, destructive gluttony of its dark celestial twin? It is a perfect mirror. The universe seemingly demands this beautiful, chaotic symmetry to fundamentally preserve the absolute laws of quantum information. Is nature actually hiding these brilliant mathematical miracles in plain sight while we blindly stare into the dark? We are actively looking. Let us return to Dr. Sarah standing on that suffocating, crowded platform under the bustling streets of Manhattan. The stale air vibrates violently as a massive silver train screeches away from the brightly lit station. She watches intently as the train plunges directly into the absolute blackness of the underground tunnel. To an observer standing on the platform, the train has completely vanished from their observable reality. It has crossed an architectural event horizon where no light or sound can return to the station. This is exactly how we have traditionally visualized the terrifying mechanics of a standard black hole. Matter falls endlessly into the crushing cosmic dark, seemingly erased from the active database of the universe. Is this total annihilation truly the final destiny for all physical objects in our vast galaxy? But does the train actually cease to exist just because it left our limited field of vision? Of course it doesn't. What the casual observer completely misses is the hidden architectural structure operating beneath the city streets. The dark tunnel consuming the train is not a graveyard, but rather a highly complex transit corridor. In the mind-bending realm of theoretical astrophysics, we call this cosmic subway tunnel an Einstein-Rosen bridge. Most people simply refer to this theoretical space-time structure by its popular science fiction name, a wormhole. But wait, there is more to this phenomenon than just a convenient shortcut through the cosmic fabric. This theoretical bridge actively connects two completely separate regions of space-time that would otherwise remain permanently isolated. The intense gravitational singularity of the black hole is merely the heavy entrance door to this tunnel. By manipulating extreme gravitational forces, the flexible fabric of space-time bends to create a hidden physical pathway. The train is not being destroyed. It is being aggressively routed through a bizarre extra-dimensional transit system. We are witnessing a magnificent spatial relocation rather than a tragic cosmic execution. Now picture what happens on the completely opposite side of that deep, dark underground transit corridor. After violently hurtling through the terrifying subterranean abyss, the train finally reaches the end of the line. It violently erupts from the tunnel mouth in Brooklyn, surrounded by a blinding storm of morning sunlight. This spectacular, explosive exit back into the brightly lit world is the exact definition of a white hole. It is the brilliant, roaring exhaust valve for all the matter that was supposedly lost forever. Everything that was violently swallowed by the darkness of Manhattan is forcefully expelled into the bright light. The panicked passengers, the raw kinetic energy, and the physical mass have all perfectly survived the terrifying journey. What happened next will surprise you, because the advanced mathematics actually support this wild cosmic transit system. Does this mean the universe intentionally built a back door to safely preserve its most precious physical information? It is a truly staggering possibility. Theoretical physicists now seriously entertain the hypothesis that a white hole is simply the necessary exit door. If a black hole is a massive gravitational vacuum cleaner, the white hole is the cosmic exhaust pipe. This elegant mathematical solution beautifully resolves the terrifying problem of the black hole information paradox. The fundamental physical data of the universe does not die, it merely relocates to a totally different space-time coordinate. This means the cosmic material swallowed billions of years ago might be erupting somewhere else right now. The strict conservation of quantum information remains perfectly intact despite the extreme gravitational violence of the initial collapse. Are we completely misunderstanding the fundamental life cycle of matter within our incredibly vast and mysterious universe? Could the explosive birth of our own galaxy actually be the white hole exhaust of another dimension? This profound paradigm shift fundamentally rewrites our entire understanding of cosmic death and subsequent physical rebirth. Nothing is truly lost forever. It was now 4 in the morning in the heart of San Francisco. David was sitting completely paralyzed in front of his glowing screens. Empty coffee cups were scattered like debris across his wooden desk. He was listening intently to the final minutes of that astrophysics podcast. The abstract concept of a brilliant white hole hung heavily in the air. He stared blindly at the thousands of lines of code on his monitor. Was his entire youth simply vanishing into a dark corporate abyss forever? He had spent years feeling like he was falling past a dangerous horizon. Every sacrificed weekend felt crushed into an inescapable, terrifying technological singularity. Could he ever escape the gravitational pull of this crushing tech industry? But then a profound realization suddenly washed over his exhausted, over-caffeinated brain. He finally understood the ultimate message hidden inside those theoretical physics equations. The cold universe mathematically refuses to accept the concept of absolute erasure. Nothing is ever truly swallowed up or completely destroyed without a single trace. His relentless effort and stolen sleep were not just disappearing into a void. The energy of his youth was not being wasted in a meaningless vacuum. If information cannot be deleted, then human struggle must also be fundamentally preserved. But here is exactly where the entire perspective gets incredibly interesting for him. He realized his current exhaustion was actually a temporary state of massive transition. He was not dying inside a black hole of Silicon Valley hustle culture. What he had mistakenly perceived as a permanent loss was something else entirely. It was an intense accumulation of massive pressure building up over hard years. The intense burnout he felt was merely the crush of maximum quantum compression. Every difficult failure and rejected project was adding to this incredible hidden density. When a dying star collapses, it feels like the absolute end of reality. But that exact crushing force is mathematically required to trigger the quantum bounce. You cannot possibly have a brilliant explosion without enduring the agonizing compression first. How could a white hole exist without the immense pressure of collapsing stars? The universe demands that we endure the suffocating darkness before we dramatically erupt. All of his intense pain was actively preparing him for a spectacular eruption. The creative energy he poured into his work was secretly traveling through wormholes. It was quietly moving toward an entirely new dimension of his personal timeline. The sleepless nights were gathering momentum for a sudden burst of pure light. Those seemingly wasted years in the tech industry were his personal Einstein-Rosen bridge. He just needed to survive the terrifying darkness of the long, suffocating tunnel. What happens when all that stored potential finally reaches its absolute breaking point? The accumulated pressure violently reverses direction and blasts outward into a completely new reality. This is the profound philosophical comfort hidden deep inside the mathematics of astrophysics. Your most agonizing moments of complete despair are never a permanent dead end. They are the essential cosmic machinery working furiously to forge your inevitable rebirth. The things we think we have lost are simply transformed under immense pressure. Now you must listen carefully to this fundamental truth about our physical reality. The universe is physically incapable of erasing the immense value of personal struggles. It carefully collects every tear, every failure, and every ounce of exhausted energy. It compacts them down into a microscopic point of infinite potential waiting silently. You might feel entirely consumed by the crushing weight of your daily life. Just remember that you are practically standing at the exact threshold of miracles. You are not fading away into the endless dark void of a black hole. You are simply gathering the necessary strength to become a beautiful white hole. David slowly reached out and finally turned off his brightly glowing computer screens. He watched his tired reflection fade away in the dark apartment window glass. For the first time in many years, his chest did not feel terribly tight. The oppressive gravity of San Francisco and its endless hustle culture lost its power. He realized that leaving his exhausting job would not mean he had completely failed. It would simply be the moment he finally emerged from his dark, suffocating tunnel. The skills he learned and the resilience he built would explode outward alongside him. Where would this massive burst of accumulated creative energy eventually take him next? He did not have a clear answer to that intimidating question just quite yet, but he finally understood that his precious energy had never truly been lost forever. The crushing pressure was officially over, and the time for brilliant expansion had begun. Let us think about the ultimate question lingering in the absolute silence of our deep space. We have never actually pointed a massive telescope and definitively seen a glorious white hole. The honest and slightly terrifying scientific answer is that the physical evidence remains completely, stubbornly elusive. But wait, there is more to this profound cosmic absence than simply missing the visual proof. We might be looking at this entire geometric spacetime puzzle from the exact wrong side. We could have actually been standing inside the blazing explosion this whole time without even realizing it. Think carefully about the very beginning of our own sprawling, complex cosmic history for a profound moment. We know with certainty that our universe began with a sudden, violent eruption of unimaginable energy and raw matter. We affectionately call this foundational, explosive event the Big Bang, though its true mathematical nature remains deeply mysterious. Could the fiery birth of our entire universe just be the explosive exit of a colossal white hole? It is entirely possible that every galaxy, star, and planet we see was once swallowed by a primordial black hole. Maybe our beautifully complex universe is essentially just the recycled, glowing exhaust of a much older, higher-dimensional reality. We might just be living inside the glowing aftermath of an ancient, incomprehensible cosmic digestive system. The brilliant stars above us could merely be the scattered debris of a totally different cosmic timeline. Now listen carefully to the humbling reality of our current scientific predicament in this modern era. We are essentially highly anxious apes with very expensive calculators trying to decode the blueprint of pure infinity. Who knows if we will ever truly grasp the absolute mind-bending mechanics of quantum gravity in our limited lifetime. Maybe we are just sufficiently primitive that the universe is actively keeping its greatest secrets safely hidden away. It is highly possible that the cosmos intentionally conceals these spectacular cosmic fountains from our incredibly narrow earthly view. Humanity is simply not mentally, spiritually, or technologically evolved enough to witness a naked white hole just yet. If we somehow found a literal doorway to a higher universe, we would probably just try to aggressively monetize it. We build elaborate mathematical sandcastles in the dark while the universe quietly executes physics we cannot even begin to fathom. The profound empty silence of the cosmos might just be the universe politely ignoring our incredibly arrogant, noisy ignorance. Do we genuinely believe we currently deserve a front row seat to the ultimate, raw machinery of infinite creation? We are likely destined to just endlessly chase mathematical ghosts through the cold, unforgiving vacuum of our limited galaxy. Our most advanced theoretical equations are perhaps nothing more than childish scribbles on the grand chalkboard of eternity. What happens when the final stars inevitably burn out and the cosmic stage finally goes completely, eternally dark? We are ultimately forced to accept that reality might not be a straight, predictable line from birth to definitive death. It could be an infinite, violently churning engine where every single terrifying cosmic grave is simultaneously a glowing womb. Every dying star swallowed by a massive black hole is simply fueling a spectacular white hole somewhere entirely elsewhere. We desperately want the universe to make simple sense, to have a definitive beginning and a peaceful final end. But the real secret is that the majestic cosmos does not care about our desperate human need for closure. Your fundamental information is never truly lost, the energy is never truly destroyed, and the loop never breaks. The crushed code of existence travels through the dark tunnels of space-time to violently erupt in a new dawn. We are forever trapped inside a breathtaking, terrifying, and profoundly beautiful perpetual motion machine of absolute darkness and blinding light. There is no final curtain call, only an endless series of spectacular encores echoing across the quantum void. This endless spinning cosmic cycle of gravitational death and spectacular quantum rebirth is the ultimate, inescapable cosmic paradox.